Hello everybody. Today we are going to look into technical best practices for your CRM data migration project. Okay, so let's go. So you're about to start your CRM migration project. Very good. You should be considering a couple of details on how to work with this and how to look into the data in order to get the most out of your new CRM system. So let's look at the first part here. So data cleaning best practices. First and foremost, remove all duplicates. Duplicates are like one of the biggest problems in all projects. Really go out of your way to avoid them in the first place. If you have them, implement logics, implement rules how to remove them. And if you're in a migration project, try to define those duplicates, what are duplicates and how you can remove them, how you can resolve them. Because if you don't transfer them in your target system, everybody will be very happy because they just create problems over problems. And how do you do this? The definition is very important. So maybe you can go by phone number, maybe by email address or something, and then try to find individual records which exist 2 times with the same email address, for instance. Standardized formats. So here this is mostly for integration purposes. Imagine phone numbers, for instance, very common that you're using international phone numbers. Some people don't use international phone numbers. Some use with a slash inside, others with a dash, others with like parentheses or whatever. So it can get really creative with phone numbers. Therefore, try to standardize the target format of your phone number in your target system. And how do you get there? Maybe with regular expressions, maybe with data pipelines or similar. But yeah, make sure that you've got standardized formats in order to have more valid reports, better integrations, in order to really work with the data better. Same goes for country names. Is it USA? Is it US? Is it United States? Is it United States of America? 4 different countries that I mentioned currently already. Lowercase, uppercase, stuff like this. Zip codes. Some zip codes start with a D in the beginning because it's Germany and it doesn't have to be there. So therefore, look really into the individual fields. Build reports on the individual fields and sort the reports from A to Z, Z to A, and then you recognize issues in the data patterns, and then you can define what should be our target format and how do we get there. Handle missing data. So in case you've got a couple of systems that you want to migrate data out from into the new target system, and there is a required field, maybe last name inside your CRM system, and you don't have the last name inside your source system. Inside the source system, maybe marketing automation, they didn't care about the last name, just about the email, but in the target system that doesn't work. So how do you handle the missing data? Define concepts here. Validate data integrity. So here again, I would say country names is some classical example, then the phone numbers again, and all sorts of different data validations if you have specific processes for validation. If this field is set to that one, then you can set this field, otherwise not. So does it work in all source systems? And now if you're migrating it, will you experience the same rules or validations inside the target system? And what do you do inside the transformations during the data pipeline migrations and so on? Then common migration methods. What can you do to migrate and how would it work in the smoothest way? So CSV imports, exports are, I think, the most obvious thing to most people. So most of the systems nowadays, they can just support this. You export your CSV file to import or export and import it into the new system. The question is, how big is your data really? Is it possible? Can you export 100,000 records out of your current system? Does your target system support 100,000 record imports? And What if you already have workflows implemented in the target system? Will it still be working, or will they all be triggered on all those 100,000 records? Same goes for the data structure inside the CSV. Do you have line breaks inside the CSV because maybe you've got description fields? Do you copy and paste email content from user interface into your source system in this description field? Maybe there are some hidden characters that you don't even see that will create a lot of problems for you. So maybe you have to go through some character cleaning. How about semicolons and commas? Does this work without any problems? Do you have quotation marks inside your description fields? So these could lead to potential problems. What I sometimes do here is split it up. One time I export only the core data with a name, phone number, email, and so on. And then in a second export, I would export only the ID and the descriptions, and then it might be easier. Then there's the direct database migration, usually quite nice, but of course database directly, it's always a bit risky. Plus in the target system, maybe you have some workflows, maybe you've got some validations which you don't have in place on the target database, so therefore it might be difficult, might lead to poor data quality inside the target system. So usually I try to avoid this unless you have very complex ELT and ETL logics inside your SQL queries. So therefore that works as well. I did it before as well. You need to be very careful here because this is working directly with the databases is quite mighty. API-based migration, that could be very, very neat. And maybe you want to use it if you're using a phased migration and then you have an API there already and you need to retrieve your data systems from multiple systems already. And therefore, it makes a lot of sense to use the API-based migration. Maybe it works because you have more logic that you want to implement into your data flows, and therefore that makes a lot of sense as well. When to use which? Maybe it already became clear now. I would say usually CSV if it's like not too many records, not too much data, and if it's not too many different objects or entities that you need to migrate, and if things are just not too complex overall. Direct database migration, if it is faster than the API usually, but a little bit more risky. And API, if you can phase it out, if you have an API implementation of some stuff anyway already, and then you can just extend this. So overall, it could be even that you're using like an approach with 2 or 3 different methods here at the same time. And then what do you need to do when you're doing all your data migration, building up your pipelines and so on? A lot of testing and validation, of course. So what I usually do with CSV files, I try to import only the first line just to see whether the import works, the structure has been recognized, or the validators have been correct to put the data into my CSV, and the target system still understands all the data structures that I have in the CSV file. Then I delete it again, and then I would import the whole CSV. So test with sample data, it works very well. Verify relationships. So, CRM system, you've got a lot of relationships between different entities inside your CRM system. This is where all the really great insights into your customers come from. Make sure that this works without any issues. So there might be new different IDs now that your target system is generating during the imports, and your source system has different IDs. Do you need to carry them over? Do you use them as a matching criteria somehow? So therefore, really look into the relationships, usually based on IDs between records. And then check calculations. often there are some calculated fields, often there are some calculations which could be done inside the data transformation pipelines themselves. Not only like 1 plus 7 or whatever, but equally like if you have first name and last name in one field inside your source system number 3 or whatever, and now you're using AI or like machine learning or whatever to split them up and put them into 2 separate fields inside your target system. So stuff like this, so calculations, computations, all sorts of things where you are transforming your data and where you need to make sure that the data transformation, the calculation, the computation inside your data pipelines worked out properly. And then I've got a huge list, which I won't read to you now. I would just copy and paste it inside the description here underneath the video, which you can make sure of. Really look into those things which are issues that arise over and over again in data migration projects. So really think about those. The list is not like a final list. Of course, there could be potentially more issues, but these are the ones which return over and over again. So you need to kind of tackle them, plan them, think about them, how to avoid them in the first place. Thank you very much for watching. That's all for this video. See you next time. Bye.